This video is proudly sponsored by FS Academy, and they've got a new range of mission packs for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 called Interceptor. This all-new 30 mission training pack is designed to put your IFR skills to the test and includes a wide range of essential topics such as holding patterns, ILS, VOR and NDB approaches, VOR and NDB navigation, and these techniques you will learn will feel really rewarding and will stay with you forever. Take the first step towards IFR today and embark upon an unforgettable and rewarding journey. Please check out FS Academy Interceptor in the notes below. Two very different ways of making a VR headset. So let's compare them. The Meganex Superlight 8K, weighing about 180 grams, on top of course of the Pimax Crystal Super, which is about 1 kilogram. I think both of these headsets are actually phenomenal in their own right, but which is right for you? Well, in this video, I try to answer that very question. I'm not going to go too crazy in depth, but talk about the major features and functions and show you some through the lens footage, starting with the Meganex. All of this is from a phone, by the way, and you'll see artifacts like black banding and, flashes and weirdness, but just sort of keep that in mind as we go through this video. So let's talk about visuals, the most important factor of this comparison, I would say. So the Meganex has a 4K MicroOLED panel with a base resolution of 3552 by 3840. Now the max rendering target at the moment, because this is a bit debatable, is, let me get this right, 5694 per eye. And that averages around 43 pixels per degree in the center 40 degrees. And before we go any further, I am using SBoy3's modification, which adds the proper rendering target and a better warping profile to the Meganex, which will be available in the software, hopefully, once Shift All get a shift on. But obviously the big party piece of the Meganex, apart from the form factor, is the OLED colors. They are absolutely unmatched, and the black levels are sensational. Flying at night in this headset is almost a spiritual experience. It is absolutely incredible. And that is thanks to MicroOLED. It's just better than LCD and QLED. It's just the way it is. And if you want deep, rich blacks and great colors, and that's the main factor for you, then MicroOLED is the best way to go. And in which case the Big Screen Beyond version 2 and Meganex should be your consideration. And I have a full comparison on the channel, and if I remember, I'll leave a link in the description below. So the Meganex really has a strong start here. 4K MicroOLED at either 90Hz or 72Hz in the near future. But here's the thing, the Pimax Crystal Super absolutely fights back with a vengeance, because this headset, well, it has a base resolution of 3840 per eye with a full rendering target of 6240 by 6280. It is a QLED panel, so it isn't MicroOLED here, but this has local dimming, which actually isn't that great at the moment, but I'm hoping it's going to improve. But this is 50 ppd. So it's also as sharp as a Meganex, and in fact, to be honest, they're both as sharp as each other. They both look really sharp, and to be honest, for me, I can't really tell a major difference between them both. Pretty amazing. But it's even more amazing when you think you can have that incredible sharpness but in a much wider field of view. Let's now talk about that quickly. The Meganex has a very tiny field of view. I warned people about this when I did my first impressions of the Meganex. And for me, I'm getting around 94 to 95 horizontal and around the same, a little bit more, vertical. In comparison, the Crystal Super has a horizontal field of view of 126 degrees. This is all tested, by the way. These are not just figures on a website. This actually is what I've tested. And that's with a vertical field of view of 103 degrees. So it's a monumental hammer blow, not just to the Meganex, but to pretty much most VR headsets out there. It even beats the Somnium VR1, which I'm going to do a separate comparison of very soon. Couple this with a much brighter panel as well. The Super is super bright, it really is. But there is one issue here. That is Mura. And depending upon the headset you get, because there is going to be some different tolerances, you may see a bit of a fogging effect of the display. That is the brightness inconsistencies of the pixels during the manufacturing process, and it can look like a bit of a dirty window. Now the Meganex, I've heard reports of people experiencing this Mura as well, which has really surprised me. But my particular unit is completely clear of any Mura, and I'm led to believe that MicroOLED, generally speaking, doesn't really suffer from Mura like LCD panels. But in any case, I think the Super is definitely going to suffer from it more, and that might be a deal breaker for you. This all again depends on the headset. For the one I have, it is there, but it's definitely not a major issue for me. But I must admit, when I go back to the Meganex, I'll just show you this through the lens footage again. This is just flying, looking at the sky. This is what I love about the Meganex. It feels like there's nothing between me and that sky. There is just no interruptions with the panel. There's no panel noise, there's no Mura. And when flying, of course, and this channel is all about flight simulation, you do look at the sky a lot. So it is a major consideration for me personally. That's not to say, though, that the Super is awful. Not at all. In fact, you know, the Mura in this is really at acceptable levels, I think, especially when considering the VRFSG XR4, the PSVR 2. Even my Quest 3 has more Mura than the Crystal Super, but people don't tend to moan about it, interestingly. I just think people have got a bit too obsessed with this sort of issue, when back in the day, when the CV1 was first released and the Riva G1, those headsets had way worse Mura than the ones that you get nowadays. But just keep in mind that Mura is definitely something that is in the Crystal Super and really not there at all in the Meganex, unless you're very unlucky. Let's now talk about the lenses. The Pimax Crystal has very large glass aspheric lenses, and you can see them here, looking very, very nice. However, the Meganex has tiny pancake lenses. So they both have different technologies. And in the past, I would probably say something like, I prefer pancake lenses because they have less distortion, blah, 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 blah. But no, not anymore. The Pimax Crystal Super just completely wins on this one. I'm not even going to go into it too much because it's just an obvious win. Those large aspheric lenses of the Pimax Crystal are absolutely damn beautiful. They have hardly any warping, but I don't see any warping at all. They have done an amazing job with the warping profile of the Crystal Super. The sweet spot is pretty big as well, up to around 5 to 10% of the vertical and horizontal axis. And with aspheric lenses, you get zero God rays and glare, and it just looks photorealistic, very glossy, very beautiful. In comparison to the Meganex, well, I think it does a half decent job. Well, I say that. The thing is, guys, when I first reviewed the Meganex, I was really impressed with the lenses because I was comparing them against the big screen Beyond version 1, which had terrible optics and a really tiny sweet spot. But then the big screen Beyond version 2 came out and blew apart the lenses of most VR headsets. That includes that of even the Quest 3. That has the best optics of any VR headset I've ever seen. So now the Meganex has gone down in points, shall we say, and it doesn't look as good as the new competition out there, because this year has been crazy with these 3 new VR headsets being released so close together. So things are changing fast. So that explains why. The Meganex, although it has decent lenses, they're not as good as the competition, actually. And comparing them to the Crystal Super and Big Screen Beyond version 2, they're actually pretty lackluster now. The display also has pretty bad warping, and actually it's been fixed with S-Boy 3's modification. And before I forget, if you want to support his amazing work with the Meganex, I'll leave a link to his donation page in the notes below. He's definitely improved it, but it's still nowhere near that of the Crystal Super. So let's just recap. The Meganex only really wins in terms of visuals against the Super when it comes to the colours. That is the vivid, beautiful colours and black levels. They are absolutely beautiful. But when it comes to things like clarity, the Super is right up there. When it comes to field of view, it completely beats the Meganex by a massive margin. The Super is also brighter, But to complicate things, the Super does suffer from mura, and when you're flying it is noticeable sometimes. It all depends really on the tolerances of the panel, and you know, if it really is too strong for you, then at least with the Super you can send it back. I'm going to get into that in a minute, by the way, because there is some interesting policies that we need to talk about. And before we move on, because I've been talking about the visual fidelity of both these headsets for over 10 minutes now, but it is complicated and I want to try and tell you everything that, you know, comes to mind, is of course the binocular overlap. Now, I'm not sensitive to a bad binocular overlap, okay folks? This is just a personal thing, but if you are, well, actually both of these headsets are very good, and the percentage of the Crystal Super binocular overlap is about 103 degrees at its 126 field of view degree setting. I'm not quite sure what the binocular overlap of the Meganex is, but it feels amazing. It really does. And I think the only way I can describe this, being not a pro VR headset reviewer, because I'm not, folks, okay? So don't think I am, is the fact that when I'm looking through the Meganex, I'm looking through it through one lens, and even if I crane my eyes left and right, it just looks like one lens. With the Crystal Super, if I really look left and right, I can see the outline of both lenses ever so slightly. Now, it's something that doesn't bother me at all, and the Crystal Super is really nice with the binocular overlap. But I must say that the Meganex, I think, beats it really. I also feel that in terms of focal distance, they're both a bit strange, and I would recommend getting VR optician lens inserts for the Meganex, because for me, even though I don't wear glasses and have very good vision, it still helped me focus in the Meganex. With the Crystal Super, I'm not quite sure what the focal length is, but it's probably quite close, and that can cause eye strain. So you may want to consider spacer kits from Studio Form or lens inserts from VR Wave. Right, let's now talk about the elephant in the room. One of the main draws of the Meganex and Big Screen Beyond is, in my opinion, it's showing where the future of VR technology is going. And I think the Crystal Super is the pinnacle of where we've come from, in the sense that this is a large headset. However, headsets like the Meganex and Big Screen Beyond are showing where the future is going. And if you like to experience a headset which is incredibly light and it feels like you've hardly got it on your head, then the Meganex and Big Screen Beyond version 2 is definitely the way to go. I have done a full 5-hour session in the Meganex, and because you can flip it up as well, you can have a cup of tea, you can talk to people. It has real life pass-through because literally when you flick it up, you can see your own surroundings so easily and then go back into VR. It's very convenient, it's very comfortable. Now, I know some people out there, the facial interface doesn't fit their face shape. I can't really comment, guys, for millions of different facial shapes and eyes and noses. I can only describe it the way I feel it, and Melissa and my dog as well, because funny enough, I've got quite a fat nose, Melissa has a pointy thin nose, and Monty, well, he has a stubby little nose, and we all three of us don't have an issue with it, but I know some people do. That's just a personal thing, folks, and I really wish you could just try it before you buy it, but I think the majority of people out there find the Meganex very comfortable, even with its soft strap. Now, in the future, there's going to be a hard strap with audio. That's going to be a big deal, and I can't wait to try that. Same for the Big Screen Beyond version 2, by the way. The Halo strap might just improve the comfort for me. But here's the weird thing, right? And this really surprised me. When I go back to the Crystal Super, apart from obviously knowing that it feels bigger, it actually is incredibly comfortable. It reminds me of wearing a motorcycle helmet, although much smaller and lighter than my motorcycle helmet, which I wear all day sometimes when I'm touring in Europe and God knows where else. And it feels very immersive, and I don't have an issue using the Crystal Super for 3 hours. It's absolutely fine. So what I'll just say here is it all depends on your preference and what is important to you in VR. And if you tend to suffer from neck pain or anything like that, then of course the Meganex is insanely comfortable and it definitely is the headset for you. But that's not to say that the Crystal Super isn't comfortable. Pimax have done an incredible job of hiding the weight of this headset. And with the top strap, it feels really nice. I love how they've shaved off some of the weight and inertia of the crystal light, making it a little bit more narrow And I think the whole headset overall looks really good. I think they both look really good. And in terms of build quality, actually, the Pimax Crystal Super is pretty damn decent. I do think the Meganex is slightly higher build quality. Now let's talk about something very obvious that's different, and that is the Crystal Super has eye tracking, the Meganex does not. And not only that, credit where credit is due, the Crystal Super, in fact Pimax in general, their eye tracking with Tobii is excellent and very, very good. Works every single time. It means you can get quad view support, that is eye tracked foveated rendering, in MSFS 2024 and DCS World. It makes a big difference to the performance. It's a real shame the Meganex does not have eye tracking. I think that would have sealed the deal for many, but it really does depend on how important that is to you in terms of performance. Talking of performance, let's just have a quick chat about that. Now, since the Meganex wasn't really performing at its full potential, that means the performance was better than it should have been. But now that I've tested at a full rendering target of both VR headsets, which I've mentioned at the start of this video, well, the performance with a 5090, because that's what I'm running, guys, you do need a top-end GPU to really make the best of these VR headsets. Well, it's very similar indeed. There's not a lot in it at all. And I would say, if anything, the Crystal Super is probably a bit better on performance, simply because of the Pimax XR runtime, which is better than that of Steam VR. But don't get me wrong, guys, you can run these VR headsets with lower end GPUs. I've tried it with my 4070 Ti Super, but you will need to use DLSS 4 and fixed or eye-tracked foveated rendering, which actually still looked pretty damn amazing, and in some cases DLSS 4 can look better than TAA and MSAA modes. And I'll also just quickly say, getting back to the visuals again, if you're still watching this, that the Crystal Super has more of a wow factor when you look through its display than the Meganex. That again is because of the combination of the field of view, brightness, clarity and great lenses. Now when it comes to price and policies, I would urge you to check the websites of both of these VR headsets, because the tariff situation and the import duty tax is a constant battle. But there is one thing that is very important to tell you, and that is Shiftal do not have a return policy. If you don't like the headset, it's tough luck. You've got it. And with Pimax, they have got an amazing policy of a 14-day trial period, which I think is mind-blowing, because the Super is already an amazing price, but you can just try it for 14 days and then send it back. You can also opt in for finance packages as well, which I'm not going to go into in this video, but you don't have to pay the full amount. Also, I think the Crystal Super, which does come with audio, by the way, the Meganex does not have any audio at the time of recording. That's going to change at some point in the future. You do get free DMAS at the moment, although actually by the time this video goes live, that might have changed. But I would recommend getting DMAS with your order, so long as Pimax actually have them in, because at the moment they've got very low stock. Now here's another tricky one to talk about, because things are changing at a fast pace. But software support, well, the Meganex can be very buggy indeed, and can sometimes crash and have that strange sort of rainbow effect on the lenses. But at least now you can reset the system. But it is getting better, and actually again with the S-Boy 3 mod, motion reprojection with Steam VR is really, really good, like amazingly good. And I'm a massive fan of motion reprojection. At the time of this recording, Pimax, well, they're currently sorting out smart smoothing, but it's going to be a thing very soon. And in terms of the software in general, I think Pimax Play actually wins against the Meganex at this point in time, but the Meganex team are hard at work trying to get the software to where it needs to be. But there is no native OpenXR support. That is, it doesn't have its own OpenXR support integration, although you do have OpenXR through Steam VR, okay? So bear that in mind. But overall, I would say the Pimax Play software, funny enough, wins this one, and it really shows that the company has improved massively over this last few years. So I think that will do for this comparison video. I'm not sure if this is going to be very interesting for most of you, because at the end of the day, these are two polar opposites. They're completely different takes on VR headsets, and they're both fantastic. And in fact, there is something I've forgotten to talk about, and that is tracking. Oh my goodness me. Sorry about that, folks. I'll just mention this now because it's an easy one. The Crystal Super wins that as well because it has inside-out tracking. It doesn't need base stations, and the tracking for flight simulation is absolutely fine. It also comes with its own controllers. That's pretty damn cool. Whether the Meganex just comes with the headset itself, it doesn't have base stations with it or controllers. But if you do like base station tracking, because it is the best in the business, the Crystal Super will have a faceplate, hopefully in the future, that you can bolt onto it. Also keep in mind that the Crystal Super is very modular, and at some point down the road you can change it for a micro OLED screen, which is pretty damn crazy because it has an optical engine, which I've shown in this video. You can take it out. You can also change it for a 57 ppd QLED panel. And this is just another reason why the Crystal Super is absolutely better than the Meganex, because it is an absolute amazing, astonishing package. The only thing that you have to deal with is the added weight. This is a much heavier headset, but if you don't mind that, the Crystal Super wipes the floor with the Meganex in all of the important areas apart from form factor and micro OLED colors and black levels. It is as sharp, it has a better field of view, it's brighter, it has better lenses, it's better value for money because it has inside-out tracking, controllers, audio, and it really showcases the absolute pinnacle of what a high-end VR headset can do with this form factor. But if you do want to experience amazing form factor comfort with micro OLED 4K visuals, then the Meganex could be your next VR headset. Thank you so much for watching as always. These videos take so much work, and if you'd like to support the channel, I do have affiliate links for both the Meganex and Pimax Crystal Super, Crystal Light, Big Screen Beyond, and very nice discounts off this Stormforce computer that you're looking at right now, which is not affiliated. But in any case, if you'd like to support the channel, I'd really appreciate it. That will do. The next comparison will be Somnium VR1 versus the Crystal Super. That's quite a surprising one, so I can't wait to do that very soon. But for now, thanks for watching. As always, please feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye for now.